na punyam na papam na sukyam na dukam na mantra na tirtam na veda na yagyam aham bhojanam dahojanam naiva bhojam nakartam satanandarupam advaitam satanandarupam advaitam satyam shiva sundara sadanandarupam shivoham shivoham na punyam na papam na sukyam na dukam na mantra na tirtam na veda na yagyam aham bhojanam dahojanam naiva bhojam nakartam sadanandarupam advaitam sadanandarupam advaitam satyam shiva sundara sadanandarupam
shivoham shivoham
na punyam na papam na sukyam na dukam na mantra na tirtam na veda na yagyam aham bhojanam dahojanam naiva bhojam nakartam Sadanandarupam Advaitam Sadanandarupam Advaitam Satyam Shivam Sundaram Sadanandarupam Shivoham Shivoham Napunyam Napapam Nasukham Nadukham Namantra Natirtam Naveda Nayakyam Aham Bhojanam Dahojanam Naiva Bhojam Nakartam Sadanandarupam Advaitam Sadanandarupam Advaitam Satyam Shivam Sundaram Sadanandarupam Shivoham Shivoham.
Welcome everyone, all of you here in the temple and those of you following from home, to this evening of stories from India. And this evening is dedicated to the great Adi Shankaracharya. And before saying anything about him, we want the Master to describe as first, his glory. So now, from eternity, our Master will whisper to us.
Swami Shankara, tu, stella sfolgorante, equilibri nei
Swami
cieli della
Shankara,
saggezza,
thou dazzling star, soaring in wisdom's skies, thou hast shed thy light over many souls, long darkened by religious forms and formalities. Many sheep of human darkness have fled before the lion and roar of thy self-realization. With Christ thou hast sung, I am he, thou art that. I and my Father are one, to awaken us from our material sleep. Thou, first exponent of matter, is not what it appears to be. We pay all homage to thee, O Swami of Swamis. Thou didst teach us to behold the one ocean of spirit, hidden beneath all the rising, sinking, and dissolving waves of finitude. Thou didst sing to us not of a God who is gloom-faced or revengeful, a stern judge of our every fault, but of one whose face wears an aureole of all alluring smiles. Thou hast shown us the secret of plucking blossoms of laughter from all hearts, and how to arrange them in the vase of our souls as a bouquet of celestial joy. Our smiling lives were raised like dancing waves on the sea of light. In thy one oceanic joy many lives dance, and at the lull of desire's storm, back into thy undying bliss shall we all merge again. O Shankara, many have beheld the sea of spirit dancing in thy smiles. We all bow to thee. And this evening we are here to do this, to honor the words of Master and to know Adi Shankaracharya, and then to bow also us in front of him. He was the one who gave to Sanātana Dharma the original illuminating energy, which is still illuminating our lives today. So we will start the sacred story. In the state of Kerala, which means the land of the coconut, in the south of India, in a little tiny village called Paladi, there was a couple living there, Shiva Guru and Aryamba. And after many years of wedding, they didn't still have any children. So they decided to go to a particular temple of Shiva where all couples would go that were not successful in having children. It was like a divine clinic specialized in that. So they stayed many months in prayer and doing austerities. And one day Shiva appears to them in the dream, to both of them. And he says to them, he gave them a choice. He says, tell me, what do you want? Do you prefer many children with a mediocre intelligence and a long life? Or do you prefer only one child with great exceptional wisdom but a short life? And they decided to talk to each other. So when they wake up, they talk to each other and they decided for what every devotee would do, to leave the choice to Lord Shiva, because this is the most important thing, to always keep attunement with the divine. He knows what is best for us, for our spiritual growing. So they gave the decision to Shiva. They start to pray to him, and out of a sudden his voice appears that says, I am very pleased with your devotion, so I myself will incarnate as your son. I will be known as the personification of supreme love, of prem, and of Gyana, of wisdom, and I will appear shortly. And so it came true what the sacred scriptures had declared, which is, when on this planet people forget the unity of everything, the great Parameshvara Shiva himself will incarnate, and he will preach and teach the unity of everything, Advaita, and he will give maternal love like a cow protecting his own child, feeding it with milk. And so after a while, out of the body of Aryamba starts shining with light. So it was clear that she was in sweet attending a child. She was so luminous, it seemed the sun itself had incarnated in her womb. And Shankara was born 500 years before Christ, as of his biographies, and about modern historians, he was born after Christ, 600 years after Christ. But we are on the path of self-realization, so we go to the essence. And what is important to us is how he lived, what his message was, and how we can practice this in our life. So we leave the discussion about the date of birth of Adi Shankaracharya to the scientists, and we will continue with our story. During those times, it's very interesting. The name of a child would be given according to the numbers of astrological of Vedic astrology. So because he was born on this particular day, on the fifth day of a certain month, so Shan stands for 5, Ka to 1, and Ra to another number. So out of divine coincidence, which doesn't exist, came out the name of Shankara, which is one of the names of Shiva, and it means the one who gives joy. Shankara was a genius. When he was 1 year old, he already spoke different languages. 2 years old, he could write. 3 years old, he could read and listen to anything and repeat it perfectly, word after word. One time, the king of Kerala would go to visit him, and he showed him 3 books. And 8 years after that date, this king came back to Shankara, and he was desperate because these books were born in a great fire. And what did Shankara do? He would repeat word after word all these 3 books, which he had only had a glimpse on these books 8 years before. There were 3 important episodes of his life that I would like to share with you. One is about a particular puja, a ritual that his father would do every day to the Durga goddess. Shankara was 3 years old, and he asked Shankara to do this ritual. And so the moment comes in the ritual where milk is offered to the goddess, and then this milk would be distributed as prasad. And Shankara was convinced that the goddess would drink this milk, and when he saw that the goddess didn't drink it, he said, "Oh mother, why don't you drink this? Maybe I offended you. My dad will be so angry with me if you don't drink this milk. Please, please drink this milk." And all of a sudden, from the image of the goddess Durga, the arms came out of the image, and she drank all the milk. But not Shankara was like, he couldn't believe himself, because she did goddess drank all the milk, and then he didn't have any milk to distribute as prasad. So he starts crying again, and he says, "Mother, mother, now I have no milk anymore to give as prasad. What can I do? My dad will be so angry." And again, the goddess Durga brings out her arms out of the picture and fills the cup with the milk of her breast. And she says, "Now you drink it, and you distribute part of it as prasad." And this shows us not only the consciousness of a child, it was his innocent awareness that of the divinity in everything that he had in all his life. And this was part of his message that you can read on the card. It says the Supreme Being is the basis of everything. The second episode story happens during Guru Purnam. The father of Shankara leaves his body when Shankara was 4 years old. So he goes to Gurukula, to the school, and he has been taught spiritual and worldly knowledge. And Shankara only remains 3 years because he had learned everything that he could learn. And there was a practice every day to go and ask for offerings. It was part of the training. And one day Shankara asks for bhiksha, for offerings, to a little hut of a poor family. And the mother, the woman of the house, is so sad because she has nothing to offer. So she searches the whole house And in the end, she finds just one little fruit of a berry. And Shankara was so touched of this gesture. This woman didn't have anything, and she gave to him everything she had. And there, he started creating a hymn to Goddess Lakshmi, which is still being sung today, a beautiful hymn to the Goddess Lakshmi. And Lakshmi appears in front of him. Shankara bows in front of Lakshmi, and she says, I know what you want from me, but see, this couple has done no good action in their past life, so I cannot give my grace to this couple, to this woman. And Shankara says, but mother, this may be true, but now she gave me everything she had. So please, I beg you, please, if you are pleased with me, shower your blessing, your grace on her. And it is said that the goddess Lakshmi agreed, and she filled the house of this couple with gold. And still today, this area of Kerala is the most wealthy, abundant area of all of Kerala, with the grace of Goddess Lakshmi. So a simple gesture done with love. Imagine how important this gesture was. Another story is every day the mother would go to the river Purna to get water for her daily activities. And one day she's so tired because of the sun, of her age, of her work, and she always also did a lot of fastening for her vows. And Shankara needs to help her to go back home. So he decides to do one thing. He goes to the river Purna and prays a special prayer for his mother. And he talks to the divinity of the river. In India, there's one divinity for every aspect of nature. There's a god of the sun, the god of the wind, the god of rain. So he prays to the god of the river. This is a way to remember always that at the base of everything that we perceive with our senses, there's always the divine being. So he prays with all his heart to the goddess, to the divinity of the river. So the river changes its direction. And if you go now to Kerala nowadays and you visit the house of Adi Shankaracharya, you can see the river Purna that passes exactly behind his house. When Shankara was 8 years old, he visits the great sage Agastya. And this is a very important visit for his life. So he talks with him in philosophical discussions, and the mother, like every mother, was worried for the future of her son. So when they start with all their discussions, philosophies, and he says, you are a very wise man, can you please tell me about the future of my son? And he says, as Lord Shiva told you and as decided from the beginning, he will have a very short life. And so if there was already worry in her heart, now she was desperate, because as soon as the wise man had left, she goes to Shankara and says, the wise man has told me you will have a very short life. And Shankara is very calm and says, Mother, but what does it matter these few years that we pass on the earth? He was only 8 years old. And he says, Mother, we should not let our attachments forget the biggest goal in life, which is self-realization. And so Shankara, who in his heart, he really wanted to take sannyasa vows, and he takes the occasion to ask his mother for these vows. The mother opens her eyes and says, "But my son, what are you saying? I want to see you married. I'm very sure that any girl would love to marry you, even if you will have a short life." Ariamba had prayed so much for this child. She had done so many sacrifices. She was a widow now, so he was the only thing she had. How could she let him go? So now Shankara was in this dilemma. How could he convince his mother for the blessing to become a sannyasin? Because in India the sacred scriptures affirm that in order to receive sannyasin you need to have the mother's blessing. But the mother didn't want to give it, so he didn't know what to do. But when there is the divine plan and when something must happen, then the divine always intervenes. So one day, while Shankara is at the river for his bath, all of a sudden a crocodile takes him by his foot and he starts crying, "Mother, mother!" And Ariamba comes running. "Mother, can you see I'm destined to leave my body today? But if you give me the blessing for sannyasa, it means that this life has ended to start another one. So please, please give me your blessing." Shankara said like this because in India, when you take sannyasa vows and you make a real passing ritual, like a mortal ritual to begin a new life. And so he says, "Mother, mother, I will be safe. So please give me the blessing." And the mother says, "Of course, my son, I will bless you with all my heart." And as soon as she had uttered these words, the crocodile let go of the foot of Shankara. So this might seem extraordinary, but what happened afterwards was even more extraordinary. So out of the mouth of the crocodile, a Gandharva, celestial being, came out and said, "Oh Shankara, you saved me. In my past life, I've done a big mistake. I presented myself drunk to the wise Durasa. He's famous for his curses, and he gave a curse to this person. And he said to Shankara, "The wise man gave me the curse and said I had to incarnate as a crocodile. And I asked him for forgiveness. I said, what can I do to make up for this big mistake?" And Durvasa, the wise man, the sage, said, "When the Lord Shiva incarnates as Shankara, then you will need to grasp his ankle. And in the moment when you will let go of his ankle, the curse will vanish." Think about this divine plan, which is so big and great, out of a past life of incarnations. There's always a divine plan behind everything. Maybe you can imagine like an image that is like stitched. From one side we only see the knots, but from the upper side we see a beautiful image. So after a while, the Lord Krishna himself appears to Shankara in a vision and he says, "The moment has come to go and see your Guru. He awaits you at the river. Go to him and he will give you initiation into sannyasa." And in that moment, Shankara writes a hymn to Lord Krishna, which is still being sung today. And it expresses all his joy of receiving this news. So the moment of the departure from his mother comes near. Ariamba, as a mother, feels great pain But she had understood that her son was not hers, and so another sacrifice was asked of her, but a very high sacrifice. Sacrifice comes from the Latin sacre facere, to make sacred. So she was asked to offer her own son on the altar of the well-being for all humanity. And so she says to Shankara, my son, go meet your guru. But I ask you one little request. Will you please be with me in my last moments of my life? And will you take care of my mortal rituals? And Shankara says, sannyasa means to embrace the whole world as your family. Up until now, you have been taking care of me, but from now on, your blessings, whoever will give me Miksha, the offering, will be my mother. Whoever will teach me will be my father. My disciples will be my children. And the solitude which gives me so much peace will be my wife. This world is nothing else than a playground where we meet again and again in the long journey of life. But sooner or later, all souls will merge into the Supreme Spirit again. And so Shankara bows in front of his mother, and without looking back, he leaves. And he starts traveling through rice fields, through coconut trees, and he's with his Rudraksha beads, and he really seems to be Shiva walking on the streets of India. Govinda Pala is the name of his guru, and the guru of his guru is the same great sage Vyasa who has written the Mahabharata and other sacred scriptures, and a great revelation was made to him. And it was said that the reason of your incarnation is to be the guru of Lord Shiva when he incarnates as Shankara. So one day Vyasa sees, and he says, go to Nkarn, to the river, because, he says to his disciples, go there because the young disciple is arriving. And so the guru meditates in his cave, waiting for Shankara to arrive. So after a few months by foot, Shankara finally arrives at his guru, and so he does pradakshina 5 times. He walks around the cave to honor his guru, and the guru is in meditation, opens his eyes and recognizes him immediately. And formally, anyway, he asks, who are you? And Shankara answers with a great, what has become a poem. And so he's accepted as his disciples, and he enters to live with his guru in the ashram for 3 years. One day there's a big flooding due to the monsoon rains. The water was everywhere, and the whole ashram was threatened to be overflowed by water. And the guru was in meditation, and Shankara didn't want to disturb him. So with his little bowl, he goes to the river, and all the water of the flooding enters into his little bowl. And when the guru exits, comes out of his meditation and hears what Shankara had done, he says, my son, I have nothing more to teach you. You have to start your mission. Go to Varanasi and start commenting the main scriptures as the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, start commenting these scriptures. And after having said that, he leaves his body because the goal of his life was to be a guru to Adi Shankaracharya. And the moment of the physical separation of the master is always a very difficult moment. You feel so lost. But Shankara is able to transform this pain into even greater determination to put into practice what his master had told him to do. So he goes to Varanasi, and there he meets his first disciples. He was 12 years old only, and the disciples start calling him Acharya, and so that's the name Shankaracharya was born. So he received his name from his disciples. So the first of his 4 disciples, who was here during Guru Purnima, has probably already heard these stories, but I will repeat them shortly. The story of these disciples, these are so beautiful. The first disciple is Padma Padam, and he meets his Guru Shankaracharya when he was only 12 years old, and he's intense in his dedication. Whatever the master would say, he would do to study or whatever. And one day he's on the other side of the river Ganga, and Shankara calls him, and he, without even realizing that there was a river in between them, he starts running towards his master. And at every step that he would put on the water, as you can see in this picture, a lotus flower appeared to keep him up. That's why Shankaracharya called him Padma Pada. Pada means foot. The second disciple, this is a beautiful story. There was this couple, and they had a son of 13 years who was from his birth very strange personality. He had never talked to anyone, and the medical doctors had said that he had an incurable disease. So they brought him to Shankaracharya asking for healing, and Shankara says to him, "But you seem to be very wise. Why do you behave like a vegetable?" And in that moment, in front of the eyes of everyone, this boy who had never talked from his life, his birth, starts reciting a beautiful hymn of very poetic words, and he says, "I am in contact with everything. I am the immortal Atma, and I always live in my consciousness." So what was discovered is that he was not mentally difficult child, but he had given a promise to be in silence, in Muni, until he would meet his guru. So Shankara said, "This boy is destined to be my disciple," but the parents were so happy that the child was like normal. They wanted to bring him home, and they insisted of bringing him home, and he would be not speaking again. So then they took him again to Shankaracharya, and he would speak. Then they would take him home, and he would not speak. Then we would take him to Shankara until they understood that Shankara was right, and so they agreed that he could stay with him, with his guru, and he was called Astamalaka. The third disciple, one day, a boy comes close to Shankara and says, "My name is Ananda Giri, and I am an analphabet, but my desire in my heart is to serve a great soul, a Mahatma. Can you please accept me as your servant?" And Shankara says, yes, of course, he was very touched by the spontaneous desire and he accepts him. And so Ananda Giri starts to wake up early to take care of his master, to bring him water and clean the place where he would sit to meditate. And he would take care of all his needs. And when Adi Shankaracharya would be in great discussions with other disciples, he would just observe his master from afar, not participating in the big discussions. He was quite shy and he would observe from afar. And one day Shankara with his disciples starts the lesson, and at a certain point the disciples start the typical traditional prayer to start the lesson. And Shankara says, stop, stop, Giri has not arrived yet. And the other disciples start laughing amongst them and said, oh, what does it matter if he hasn't arrived yet? He is an analphabet. He does not understand our discussions anyway. Shankara doesn't say a word. He only, the only thing he does is calling Giri, who's at the river, cleaning the master's clothes. So as soon as he hears his voice, he runs to his master, and as soon as he arrives at the master, his analphabetism disappears. He sits down and starts reciting hymns, very difficult, with Totaka rhythm, that all disciples remain without anything to say. And so from that day on, he continues to serve Adi Shankaracharya, and he has founded another ashram and puts this disciple in charge of the other ashram. So think about what great blessings the service to a guru brings into our lives. Now we'll have a small musical break and we will sing a beautiful kirtan inspired by one of the most well-known poetry that Adi Shankaracharya has written, Bhaja Govindam. And he was walking in the streets of Varanasi and he meets a pandit who's reciting grammatical rules all day. And after having met this pandit, he starts writing these verses to express his sentiment in meeting someone who recites grammatical verses. So then his disciples add other verses, and it has become a beautiful poetry because it shows the aspirations that we should do to find God. Bhaja Govindam doesn't means not only to sing to God, but to search for God, to love God, and every verse really shows us how life, how time takes away everything, and to search for what is eternal. And then the last verse of this Bhaja Govindam is so beautiful. It says, it says, let go, take refuge at the feet of your Guru, and through spiritual discipline and the control of your mind, you can get free and realize the presence of the Lord in your heart. So also we will now sing Bhaja Govindam, and we will sing it to all the parts of ourselves who are not yet searching for God, so that we can search for Him with all our being. And then we will continue our story.
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam,
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam,
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam,
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam,
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam,
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam,
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam,
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam,
Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam.
Shankara entrò nel suo sedicesimo
And she says, you should never turn back to me. The moment that you will turn back your head, I will leave my body. So when Shankara would walk with his disciples and also the wife of his disciples, because they were both disciples, he always knew that she was there because he could hear her little bells at the ankles. But one day in the south of India, they get to the south, to a beautiful place. Everything is green and filled with flowers, and he sees so much beauty that he goes almost into trance. He sees a cobra making shadow to a frog who is pregnant, and he sees this beauty and this harmony between the animals, and he discovers the mystery because he was in Sringeri, and the name was given by the wise man Sringa, who for a long time had done very deep spiritual tapasya, a lot of devotion, and he attracted the grace of Indra, the god of rain, who transformed this land that was so dry before into this beautiful land, rich land. So there was so much harmony and so much beauty that even the animals that in nature would kill each other, they would live together in harmony. So think about what great gift we can give to the world through our spiritual practice, the energy that we emanate each time that we meditate. So Shankara, taking by all this beauty, for one moment he forgets the promise given to the wife of the disciple. So he looks around, and she, as she had announced, leaves the body. So Shankara decides to found an ashram there, in her ashram, which is the ashram of Sringeri, which is still there today. And he leaves the husband of Bharat to lead this ashram. So we've almost come to the end of our story. Aryamba becomes sick, and Shankara feels that his mother is about to leave the body. So he goes to Kaladi to keep his promise given to his mother. But when he comes home, he finds all the Orthodox Brahmins that are blocking his way, and they say, no, you cannot enter here. The rules say that a sannyasin who has left maternal home cannot come back. And Shankara looks at them and says, for me, whatever rule which is not based on love has no meaning. And they say, no, you cannot be in our order anymore, you cannot do this. And Shankara, who for his whole life had fought to take away mental restrictions that would close the heart of the Brahmins, with firmness of a mountains and with the delicacy of a flower, says, Sannyasin means expansion of consciousness. The whole humanity is my family. Why should I exclude my mother who gave me this body? So he goes into the house and finds Aryamba lying on her bed, and seeing her son, she starts crying with joy. And he goes close to her bed and says, Mother, I'm here, I'm keeping my promise. What is the desire of your heart? And she says, my son, my only desire was to see you again, Now that I've seen you again, I have no desire. Please teach me Brahma Gyana, the consciousness of Brahma. And Shankara can't believe it because the state of no desire is so rare. And to ask the consciousness of Brahma at the moment of death is an incredible blessing, because when the moment arrives of death, of leaving the body, your thought will be what was the main thought during your whole life. So asking Brahma Gyana is a great blessing. And so he starts instructing his mother, and then she says, my son, I would love to see the Lord, the God in his form. And so he sings to Shiva, and Aryamba has the vision of Shiva. And she says, I would like to have the darshan also of Lord Vishnu. And so he also calls Lord Vishnu, and Aryamba leaves the body with the vision of Lord Vishnu. So one promise has been kept. The second one, to do the mortal ceremony for his mother, had also to be kept. But the Brahmins say, you cannot do this. So he does it all by himself. He takes the body of the mother and to the garden, and he takes the wood of the banana, and Shankara, with all his energy left, he says these words. He says to the God of fire, O Agni, if it is right what I'm doing, and if the Brahmins say it's wrong, if they are wrong and I am right, then please light the fire. And so the Lord of the fire starts the flames, and he can give the body of his mother to the flames and keep his second promise. Yato Dharma Tato Jaya. Now we've come to the last part of the life of Adi Shankaracharya, which is in Himalaya. So now I would like to invite our Himalayan yogi, Jayadev, who has visited some of the places where these stories have happened, and he will share with you, and then we will conclude the evening. Soon we will leave again to Badrinath, and there is a temple, in this temple is a murti. It's so powerful. When we are there, this murti has a power, an aura. You sit there to meditate. I talk about myself, but I talk for others. And I can reach states which are impossible elsewhere for me to reach. Every year it is like this. And this statue is the statue of Narayan. It is called Badri Narayan. And the statue has been worshipped with intensity since Vedic times, from forever. And Shankara came to Badrinath searching for this murti, for this divinity. And he saw it was not there. They put another statue there, and Shankara was so sad and also shocked. And he asked what happened, and they said thieves came, and they came to destroy. And in order to protect it, we've put it here into this well to hide it. And there's like a hot water spring, and they put the statue in the very depth of this water. And so it was impossible to take it away from there. But Shankara sat in meditation, and after his meditation, he entered into this well down, 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 and he stayed there. And the people were scared 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and when they thought, okay, it's so dangerous and it's very, very hot, the water, and they said, okay, we've lost him. But after many minutes, he came out again, and on his shoulders he had this murti, and he put it again with rituals into this temple. And up until today, it is worshipped with tears, with so much energy. I don't know where else in the world you can find it. And this murti still lives there, and it is filled with the blessings of Adi Shankaracharya. And Shankaracharya, he went also to Kashmir, and there's a temple that is very famous, the temple of Sarasvati. And it's the seat, the throne of omnipresence. And in the center of this temple there's a throne, and who sat there was declared to be omniscient. His teaching was impossible to be refused, total authority as a teacher, as philosopher. And it was a temple with 4 doors in each direction of the sky, and so very great doors. And Shankara says, I will sit on this throne, not for my glory, but for what I teach, which is Advaita. All in India, everyone, there is all these currents of philosophy, the dualist, this God is bigger, that God is wider, the 6 darshana, the 6 philosophies, everyone talks and they discuss, every sadhu knows better than the other sadhu. And he says there's only one truth, and there's only one absolute, and we are all part of this one Advaita. There is no duality. And he said, I will sit on this throne. And he got near to this throne, and you had to debate with each of the darshana, and everyone wanted to win against Shankaracharya, and everything he said was so brilliant, and he had an answer to everyone. And so all the other philosophers, darshanas, would in the end bow to him. And so he gets closer and closer to the temple, and the 4 doors open to him, and he enters, and he sits on this throne of the supreme philosophers to be able to teach the truth of oneness, of non-duality to everyone. And Saraswati herself gave her blessing, and everyone would honor him, and all the gods from the skies, they showered him with flowers and blessings, so that even the wife of Indra, Sachi, did not have her flowers, and no flowers anymore to put into her hair, because all the flowers of the sky were put on Shankaracharya. So close to Badrinath, there is another place, which is Kedarnath, where we have been. Badrinath is dedicated to Vishnu in the form of Badri, and Kedarnath is dedicated to Shiva. And there is another temple filled with power and sacred energy, and all the Hindus want to go there, and it's very powerful. Badrinath is very sweet and devotional. Kedarnath is strong. It is difficult to get there. You need to walk a lot, and it depends when you go there, but it's so cold. When I got there in the best season, but it was so cold, incredibly cold. It was full of rats there, and a rat had even run over my body. So it's really total Shiva energy, completely different from Badrinath. There's so much power, but it's a glorious power anyway, really strong. And Shankara goes up there with his disciples, but it was so cold, incredibly cold. And they, with the clothes that they had on them, they were cold up into their bones. And Shankara, in his compassion, he makes a miracle. And he, from nothing, out of nothing, in Kedarnath, had made come out a warm water spring, similar to Badrinath, also there with the help of the divine. It's very cold there also in the winter, but there's super hot water spring water, and in Kedarnath also. And so the poor disciples in Shankara could warm themselves and feel a little better. So this is one of the great miracles of Shankara. He also went to Mount Kailash, which is a very great sacred mountain. It is the house, the home of Shiva, Mount Kailash. And he went there, and in his sacredness, he was given 5 Shiva lingams, the symbols of eternity, and he took them from Kailash, from Shiva himself, and he brought them to north, south, east, west, everywhere in India to be worshipped, to worship the infinite and absolute. And still today, the places of Shankaracharya are worshipped. But it's not the same, because who knows the story of Adi Shankaracharya? This is not the formats that he had inaugurated. He was very practical. He was a reform in order to bring his message to north and south and east and west, and to he had created very famous mat Shankaracharya, and up until today there's the Shankaracharya of Joshimath, of Dwaraka and Puri, and so they are like the 4 popes of India, the maximal authorities, and he established these mats to diffuse the sacred teaching of Sanātana Dharma and of the divine. His death was in Kedarnath, so he went back to Kedarnath. There are several stories about his death. One is that he came there and he sat in a circle with his disciples, and there was this glorious atmosphere which Yogananda described Shankaracharya an avatar. Yogananda nominates Shankaracharya together with Buddha, with Krishna, an incarnation of the divine. And so they sit there in a circle, and all of a sudden Shankara becomes very serious and says, "My beloved disciples, now is my moment to leave you." He was 32 years old. He was very young. He had done a spiritual revolution in India to revolutionize the caste system in India. He really wanted to bring back the original teachings of the Vedas in all of India. He has done in 32 years a great revolution, and he says, "I will leave you now, And his disciples, they were renunciates, dedicated to detachment. Nothing in this world belongs to me. But when it's about your own master, this is too big for all devotees. And so they start crying, all of them. And it was a lamenting and a crying. Don't leave us. Who are we without you? You are not only our guru, you are our life, our world. Without you, everything is empty. What can we do? They were desperate completely. And he says, I need to go. Now it is your turn to continue my work. And one disciple says, tell me, what can we teach to the people? And he says, teach them to ask, who am I? And as a teaching, teach the Dashi Sloka, which what you have heard in the beginning. I'm not this, I'm not that. I am Shiva, I am the Absolute, I am one. This you should teach. And after these words, he says, do not follow me, stay here. And he gets up and majestically he walks to the high Himalayas, and they see less and less of him until he has disappeared. And that's the last thing that was seen of the great Shankaracharya. So he walks into eternity. Now when you go to India, really, even today they're discussing who's right, who's wrong. Everyone is right in India. It's a very philosophical people, and everyone thinks that he or she knows better. But when they talk about Shankara, everyone says this is spiritual genius, and they bow to him. No one can talk about Shankaracharya. Those devotional, because he was so devotional to Divine Mother, to Krishna, all the Advaita, everyone agrees with Shankara. He is the absolute star that was incarnated in this world. And Yogananda called him the Swami of all Swamis. We will close with a song. It is also on the little card that you have been given when you entered. And this is the song that Master sang when he became monastic in one of the orders founded by Shankaracharya. And he says, if we recite and we repeat to ourselves every day these words, sooner or later we will realize that we are immortal. So we will close this evening with this song, which is inspired by the hymns written by Adi Shankaracharya, and the message of Shankara and of the Masters may manifest in our hearts.
Non nasco, non muoio, eterno son, non nasco, non muoio, eterno son. Padre e madre io non ho, padre e madre io non ho, non nasco, non muoio, eterno son. Non nasco, non muoio, eterno son. Padre e madre io non ho, padre e madre io non ho. Sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo. 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 Non sol l'intelletto, la mente e il cuore, non sol l'intelletto, la mente e il cuore. Nulla, nulla trattengo di me, nulla, nulla trattengo di me. Non sol l'intelletto, la mente e il cuore, non sol l'intelletto, la mente e il cuore. Nulla, nulla trattengo di me, nulla, nulla trattengo di me. Sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo. 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 No birth, no death, no caste am I. No birth, no death, no caste am I. Father, mother have I known. Father, mother have I known. No birth, no death, no caste am I.
No birth,
No death, no caste am I. Father, mother have I known. Father, mother have I known. I am he, blessed spirit I am he.
I am
He, I am he, blessed spirit I am he. I am he, I am he, blessed spirit I am he. I am he, I am he, blessed spirit I am he. My no intellect, no ego feelings. My no intellect, no ego feelings. Sky no earth, no metals and mine. Sky no earth, no metals and mine. My no intellect, no ego feelings. My no intellect, no ego feelings. Sky no earth, no metals and mine. Sky no earth, no metals and mine. I am he, blessed spirit I am he. I am he, blessed spirit I am he. I am he,
blessed
spirit I am he. I am he, blessed spirit I am he. Non nasco, non muoio, eterno son. Non nasco, non muoio, eterno son. Padre e madre io non ho. Padre e madre io non ho.
non nasco, non
Muoio, eterno son. Non nasco, non muoio, eterno son. Padre e madre io non ho, padre e madre io non ho. sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo.
Sono lui,
Sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo. Sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo. Sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo. Non sol l'intelletto, la mente e il cuore. Non sol l'intelletto, la mente e il cuore. Nulla, nulla trattengo di me. Nulla, nulla trattengo di me. Non sol l'intelletto, la mente e il cuore.
non solo
L'intelletto, la mente e il cuore. Nulla, nulla trattengo di me. Nulla, nulla trattengo di me. Sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo. 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 I am he, blessed spirit, I am he. 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 Sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo. Sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo. Sono lui, sempre libero nel cielo. Sono lui, sempre libero nel